Hi everybody, welcome to Suds and Strikeouts. We are talking Major League Baseball and we start things off talking about the strong start to the 2020 season by the Baltimore Orioles. The team is off to a 5-3 start and that includes taking 2 of 3 in Boston and sweeping the Tampa Bay Rays last weekend. It all started on Friday night when they took Game 1 after a couple of rain delays, but that wasn't the big news. The big news was General Manager Mike Elias engineered a trade after the game in the early Saturday morning hours. He sent relief pitcher Richard Bleier to the Miami Marlins for a player to be named.
We talk to all the clubs on a constant basis as much as we can, and the Marlins had been a team that had expressed interest in Richard Bleier at times, even before the season started, and then in the earlier portion of summer camp. So before their most recent crisis began, they had interest in Richard, and with our position right now as a rebuilding team, we're listening to everything, and particularly with a veteran reliever like that, there's interest from other clubs at times, and we explore it, and he's somebody who has occupied a very prominent place, I think, in the recent history of this team. He's been a part of some good runs here, and he's been a leader in the bullpen, and he's pitched through injury at times, and he's just he's an Oriole, and so it's tough seeing him leave, but it's I think part of the process and the transition that this club's going through is we know things like this happen, and we did it last year and it's happening this year, and it doesn't mean that he's not appreciated and welcome back at some point in time. In terms of the player to be named later, this year, if you're going to acquire a player that's not on a club's active player pool, any trade would need to be structured that way. So, obviously I cannot reveal what we might expect to receive or what our options would be, but at some point in time, we'll consummate the rest of the trade.
Definitely surprised. Caught me off guard there. Just during the game, I was just kind of map out a situation where I might get into that one, and then I didn't get in. I was like, just kind of wondering what happened, and then and Mike called me in after, and he's like, "You want to know why you didn't pitch?" And he's like, "We traded you." So I was like, "Okay, that kind of makes sense." But definitely surprised and extremely thankful for Baltimore, the organization, and everything they've done, for the last few years for me. No, I didn't ask for a trade. I don't know if I'm. I feel like that's like LeBron James asked for trades, not me. I'm excited to continue my career in the big leagues. I'm looking forward to pitching with the Marlins, but on the other hand, I will miss Baltimore.
For his career in Baltimore, Bleier went 8-1 with a 2.99 ERA with 4 saves. Now on Saturday, the Birds and Rays took the field again, and this time the game went into extra innings. And with the wacky new rules because of 2020's COVID-19 stuff, runners were placed on second base to start extra innings. The Orioles turned an odd double play. Pat Vallica had the game-winning hit, and Trevor Laskins earned his first Major League win. He talked about the odd celebration afterwards.
Just how different it was, how different the celebration was, how different it was in the clubhouse after it. I think that's what I'm going to remember most. I know it's like a dream of mine, but it was just a crazy experience, just the way Pat had to walk off, and then we celebrated with Pat, and then there was a little celebration in the locker room. It was just a wild experience. Usually we're jumping all over Pat, ripping his jersey off, throwing water on him, and now we can't even come 6 feet from him. It's definitely it's so weird. It's so weird.
On Saturday, the Birds swept the Rays, winning 6-3. Renato Nunez, Hanser Alberto, and Pat Vallica remained hot, and the bullpen locked down the Rays lineup. Cole Salsa earned his 3rd save of the season. He talked about his and the team's strong start.
It's I'm not gonna, say that this is necessarily what I expected for my role. I was hoping to just come in here, earn a spot, but at the same time, I feel like I can pitch and leverage situations, and I'm super happy to get that opportunity. And as far as the team goes, I've been impressed from day one with the way guys have handled themselves. we're all playing to win and play as a team. And I think they've continued to do that throughout summer camp. And so, I mean, it's awesome to see everyone get off to such a good start.
And with that, we make a call to the bullpen where Ray Chalakian and Justin Dellinger are standing by warming up. All right, guys, thanks for being here tonight, and let's get right into it. The Baltimore Orioles are off to a better start than most people in the country thought they would be. 5-3, second place, and actually looking pretty good on the field.
They are, and if you look at the ESPN rankings, they would have you know that they're the worst team in baseball, 30 out of 30, even lower than the Tigers and Pirates and everyone else. So I guess if you're following ESPN and you have no idea what else is going on, they would tell you that how poorly they played. But I would agree with you, Chris. They're off to a pretty good start.
They definitely are off to a surprising start. I was really surprised they swept the Rays over the weekend. But I saw those power rankings, and I kind of get ESPN's logic because I look at them and I read their breakdown, and I feel like they're looking at kind of like the big picture. And I feel like that's what power rankings kind of should be. They should be like probably 80%, give or take, of what the team is really like, and about 20% of what they did in the last week or so.
So I kind of disagree. What's the point of updating them every week? If we're going to just only take future things into consideration, I think it should be 80% based off of what they've done and 20% based off of what's coming forward. And with that being said, I don't think the Orioles should be in the top 10, but 30th, really? I mean, what are the Pirates, like 1-50 so far?
They're 2-9. They lost again today.
Okay.
They are the worst team in baseball by far. But you look at the Boston Red Sox's pitching staff.
Yes.
There's no way they should be ranked ahead of the Orioles. The Orioles took 2 or 3 from them. And Hanser Alberto and Renato Nunez continue to hit the ball. Alex Cobb looks really good coming out of the gate. And it looks like the O's have found a closer. I mean, call it crazy, but aside from the home run to Aaron Judge, Cole Sulser's looked really good on the mound.
Well, don't get me started on the home run to Aaron Judge, because that 2-1 pitch that was called a ball that ended up being 3-1 that was right at the knees. I didn't sleep until 5 a.m. that night. That changed the whole complexion of the at-bat, the game, my week, my day, my everything. So, he's looked good. He's 30 years old. I don't know how much confidence I have in him long term, but, filling in until Harvey comes in, I'm good with it.
Now, the Orioles made a surprise move. They traded Richard Bleier because they say how good, Paul Fry has looked, and they have left-handers in the bullpen. What do you guys think about that trade?
I was very surprised with it. I did not expect him to pull the trigger on trading anything so quickly, but I looked at it more as the Marlins being desperate for adding more warm bodies to their rosters, since last I saw, they had 18 players test positive for COVID. I think that's the number they're looking at right now. But I look at that as more than anything else. And if they can get, some low A player, whether he turns into anything for them long term, doesn't really matter. But I was surprised, but I've turned out to be fine.
I tell you, Mike Elias really likes the return. No, he can't say what the return is given the rules right now, but obviously he knows who the player is coming back, and he really is excited about it. Could be like an Andrew Kashner last year.
I have to say this. I'm completely shocked by the trade. I mean, he's 33 years old. He's not a building block, but at the same time, the guy was historically good. In his first 3 seasons, his ERA was under 2. I mean, you might have a reliever with a few fluke season with 1 season under 2, but when you do it 3 years in a row, that's kind of, I'm not necessarily going to say who you are. I don't think he's that good, but he was historically good. At one point, Ray posted a trivia question on my page. At one point in 2018, him and Craig Kimbrell were the only 2 relievers with an ERA under 2 for their career. I mean, he's been shockingly good. It's been done with a lot of smoke and mirrors, but at the same time, I expected a return better than a player to be named later. I'm a little bit tainted. I volunteer for a charity group. We work with kids with disabilities, and one year Kevin Gaussman completely blew us off, and Richard Bleier showed up and saved the day. He pitched to the kids all day long. He was amazing. He is not only a great pitcher, he is a great human being. Just when you hear his responses that he gave to being traded, he was like, someone asked him if he had requested a trade, and he said, players like LeBron James requested trade, not players like me. He's just really humble. When someone explained to him what his ERA plus was, just whether he was faking it or whether he really knew what ERA plus was, he's impossible to not like. And I'm shocked that we only got a player to be named later for him.
Well, let's continue with the AL East because the Yankees look to be the team everyone thought they were going to be. But other than that, it could be a crapshoot for that second spot to get into the playoffs. What do you guys think?
Has Aaron Judge even stopped hitting home runs yet? I don't even know if he stopped hitting home runs yet, but he's pretty much unstoppable. I kind of wonder, with what 8 teams coming out of each league now making the playoffs, I feel like they will probably wind up being heads and shoulders above pretty much everybody else out of the American League. The way it looks like right now, with everybody else's pitching being so negatively affected and playing across the board with dealing with COVID and such. Because I think the Yankees have largely avoided COVID infections on their team thus far. Aside from Chapman that did get COVID, but they put in Zach Britton to close it down for him, and he's been amazing all over again.
You got Garrett Cole was already 3-0, and he's off and running too. So the Yankees looking really, really good.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think, the Yankees are obviously the team to beat, and they're, they're, to their credit, they're living up to all expectations, probably even doing better. Aaron Judge has been amazing. I had said that Stanton was a player to avoid in fantasy. I still might mean that, but, he's just streaky. His hot streak is just coming now instead of, however many games into it. But they're clearly the team to beat, and obviously going to run away with the division. But like you had mentioned about Boston, I might put the Orioles starting rotation up against Boston's. I mean, some really bad team is going to make the playoffs, and it could be the Tigers or Orioles or I name another bad team, the Royals. I don't know. There are going to be some weird teams in the playoffs, and I think some of them are going to come from the East.
And part of the reason some team might get into the playoffs is because they might get to extra innings and have a runner on second base and score and win the game. What do you think about that obviously awful new rule in Major League Baseball 2020?
Not a fan. Not a fan of the rule. I actually did some digging into just what the nature of this problem in extra innings really is for baseball. And I want to give credit where credit's due. And I found an article on Fangraphs written by a guy named John Taylor. So, John, you're awesome. Thank you for providing this information. Last year in 2019, there were 2,429 games played across the board the entire season. Of those 2,400 plus games, only 208 had gone to extra innings across the season. Of those 208, would either of you guys care to guess how many of those went at least 12 innings?
15?
I would guess 30.
A little bit more than that. It was 56.
56
games out of almost 2,500 total games played went at least 12 innings last year. So we're talking 2.3%, if you want an exact number. So I feel like this is a problem that is pretty much non-existent as far as baseball goes. And I feel like if they're going to try something and just throw something at the wall and see if it sticks, now would be the year to do it. But I really, truly hope this is not something that becomes the norm for baseball in 2021 and beyond.
Well, they're doing it to save pitchers' arms, but each team is still carrying 30 players, and of them, like 14 or 15 are pitchers. You're not going to run out of pitchers if the game goes 12, 13 innings. You're just not going to do it, and it really adversely affects the game. Justin, what do you think?
Yeah, everything Ray said, plus, I mean, the other day when the Orioles were playing in extra innings and all of a sudden a runner was on second for the Rays, and I was like, wait, what did I miss? And I started rewinding because I'm like, and then I'm like, oh, yeah, that really dumb rule. And I didn't realize how much I hated it until the extra inning game the other day. And even when the Orioles got a runner on, I hated it. That win felt cheap. It felt I despise it more than anything, any rule that's ever happened. I loathe it. I hate it. Everything Ray said times 10, I hate it.
The one thing it's got going for it is that it requires managers to up their strategy for extra innings. Now, I don't like it. I hope it goes away, and I hope they kill it with fire. But it does add an element of strategy come extra innings when depending on even in 10th inning beyond that.
Can you imagine a playoff game being decided that way?
I
A
think
1-1 playoff game with great pitching is decided because a man is on second to start the 10th inning. There's a wild pitch and a sac fly, and Team A loses to Team B because of it.
I could be wrong, but I think that they've said it's not going to be done in the playoffs.
We can only hope. We
Yeah,
can only
absolutely.
hope. The other thing I want to talk about is how bad the umpiring has been in Major League Baseball this year, because it just seems like the strike zone changes, not inning to inning, not half inning to inning, but within the same at bat, the strike zone changes. The pitcher could throw the same strike, one will be a strike and one will be a ball. It just looks bad.
I'm going to sit back and let Justin have the floor because I know he's got tons to say about this. So, Justin, have at it.
It has been atrocious. It has been so bad. It has been, Jim Palmer has always said, if players can deal with a bad strike zone, not that they like it, but they will deal with it if it's consistent. They want consistency. Okay, when there's a ball at Aaron Judge's knees and it's called a ball, and then Zach Britton throws a ball at the ankles and is called a strike 5 minutes later, that's not consistency. And it's crap. That game, that I cannot get over. I wanted the whole season canceled after that Yankee game with Aaron Judge and that, because it was just a joke. It was a mockery. The only thing that would have made it like the perfect mockery is if there was a runner on second when Judge hit that ball and he hit like a single instead of a moonshot. There was a runner on second, but it wasn't a free thing.
It wasn't a free. It happened to Alex Cobb also when he was pitching. He was literally walking off the mound.
Yeah, right. I know exactly.
And the very next pitch, Adames hits a double and the Rays take the lead. And it was clearly a strike. No one's in the stands now, so we're all watching it on TV. It's clearly a strike on TV. And I don't know what the umpire's looking at. I mean, that wasn't even a questionable call. It wasn't even close.
No.
I kind of wish that Jim Palmer was still able to call Orioles games this year, because one thing that Justin and I love is when Jim Palmer's ready to have his head explode. Normally it's when an Oriole makes a really bad play or bad decision, but bad umpiring like we're talking about right now, that's the kind of stuff that would make him just want to lose his mind on TV. And that's always entertaining. But the bigger point is, yeah, it's horrible. And I don't know if this is just like, if it's just like one more sign of the times of it being 2020, or if this means that umpiring is going to get progressively worse from here on out. I don't know what the answer to the problem is, but it's been horrible, awful, everything combined.
Across the board.
I can deal with it when I'm sorry, Chris. I can deal with it when it's like a curveball that's so good that it not only tricks the batter, but it tricks the umpire. But when it's a 95 miles an hour down the middle at Aaron Judge's knees, I just cannot get over that pitch. It was called a ball. When it's down the middle, like as straight as an arrow, like a Tommy Hunter straight arrow fastball, and it's called a ball at the knees. And then the next inning, Zach Britton throws a sinker at the ankles. It's atrocious. It's everything that Ray said. Yeah.
Can I really jump in real quick about Zach Britton, though, and how amazing it is that he has bounced back from it to become more like his 2016 self, and from dealing with, I think it was a forearm strain in 17, and then he tore his Achilles, and the Orioles got essentially nothing for him when they had to trade him away. But now he looks like his 2016 self all over again. And I feel like that's not normal. That's not typical for a relief pitcher to be that kind of dominant and then deal with those kinds of injuries and then come back and to that level of dominance all over again.
I think he looks really good, and I'm happy for him.
I am
Zach
too.
was always a stand-up guy here in Baltimore, and the rich get richer. I mean, the Yankees got him for pennies on the dollar, and here he is now, way exceeding what the Orioles got for him.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to me. Speaking of that, we'll move into talk about some of these players who are out of the gate like a bullet out of a gun. And I want to start with some pitchers, and we're going to go to the state of Ohio. And let's talk about Sonny Gray, because that guy wasn't on anybody's radar to have any kind of great season, and he is looking like a Cy Young candidate right now in the National League.
Yeah, I looked up his numbers, and he definitely is. I know he pitched really well in Cincinnati last year when they first got him, and they gave him the 3-year deal. But he's pitched better than he ever did in 2015, which was his previous career year to date. And he is absolutely unhittable, untouchable right
The
Yeah, I
guy
followed
has
Sonny
28
Gray.
strikeouts in 3 games.
I followed Sonny Gray pretty closely last year just because I picked him up on waivers in fantasy, and he was reunited with his pitching coach from, I think, was it Vanderbilt? Wherever he went to college, he's reunited with his pitching coach, and he gives all his credit to making the All-Star team last year to his pitching coach. But he's always been a guy where he had such high expectations in Oakland, and then he kind of forgot about him because he was so bad in New York. But man, he has been amazing in Cincinnati. And to their credit, I thought that was crazy when Cincinnati gave him that 3-year deal before he even did anything, especially in that bandbox that's comparable to Yankee Stadium.
now.
It's
It
crazy.
really is. It's comparable. And then he has lived up to and exceeded expectations, to his credit.
If he stays hot, the Reds have a real chance this year. We'll
They
stay
were a
in.
team who I really like going into the season as a whole. Between
Yep.
the lineup and Sonny Gray and Luis Castillo building on his great year last year too, and it's almost like Trevor Bauer's kind of an afterthought for them. It doesn't really even matter that they're only going to have him when he's going to be a free agent. He's going to walk and go somewhere else for money after the season's over. It really doesn't even matter as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, but Trevor Bauer's also off to a great start this year. And he looks really strong. So the Reds really have a great 1-2 punch atop of that starting rotation. Nick Castellanos is hitting the ball real well. So Cincinnati's looking pretty good in the NL Central, which is a division that anybody could win right now over there in the NL. And the AL, I mean, what can we say about Shane Bieber? That guy is just on fire. I mean, he's on fire.
The stat that I saw today was that he's starting tonight. He's pitching tonight. And if he gets 11 more strikeouts tonight, he will break the major league record for most strikeouts in the first 3 starts of the season. So I hope he gets it. I really, really hope he gets it. I'd love to see it happen.
How many is it?
And I don't know who they're playing tonight exactly, but I hope he can pull it off.
Yeah, he's been amazing. I mean, Cleveland they've been great at developing those pitchers, and it really helps to offset the loss of Bauer. And Carrasco I don't know what he's doing so far. I know he had his personal problems, but man, that guy has stepped up. And Bieber I believe he wasn't even considered that high of a rated prospect. He's really come into his own in his early to mid 20s.
Yep. And they traded away Bieber too.
Yeah.
He was a journeyman, you said?
He wasn't a journeyman, but I don't believe he was rated that high. And I think he was projected as like a 3rd or 4th starter when he was drafted in the minors. And all of a sudden it's weird when someone comes up and they're way better in the majors than they were in their minor league career.
It's really weird. Speaking of a guy who's bounced around a little bit, but now is red hot to start the season, Nelson Cruz with the Twins. He's leading the majors in RBI, and I know it's a sore spot for Oriole fans for letting him go, but he continues to hit the ball well.
Yeah, I had a thing that I said to Ray after 2014, and I was all in favor of letting him go. What I kept repeating to Ray, which I was clearly wrong, I said, well, he's 34 years old. Do you think he's going to do what he did in his 34-year season or what he did in the 10 years before that? The answer would normally be in the 10 years before that or worse, but I was clearly wrong, and it's actually been he's going to do better than what he's done in his 34th season into his 40s. He's amazing. I've been wrong about him. People keep saying he's going to fall off a cliff. Eventually, they're going to get right. Like people kept saying the Orioles are going to be bad. Eventually, if you say it enough, it's going to happen. But, man, he has been amazing, and I don't feel qualified to give an opinion about him because how wrong I was after 2014.
Not only that, but he missed 30 to 40 games at least every year before 2014, the one year he was in Baltimore.
He did, and he averaged about 25 home runs and 90 RBIs. And all of a sudden, he's now averaging what he did in 2014 for then.
So the Orioles made him a fair market deal at that time. From what I remember, they were willing to give him a 3-year deal at that time, but he wanted a 4th year, and Seattle was the only team willing to give him that 4th year, and he clearly made the most of it. And I can't say they really benefited from it because they never made the playoffs with him on the team, but still, he's amazing. He's now, I think he's 39, 30, 40 or something?
He's in his 40s. He's in his 40s.
Is Minnesota a hitter's ballpark? Is Target Field a hitter's ballpark?
I think they say it is. I don't know the exact stats, but hitting in Minnesota, it's cold, and it's But with their lineup, I mean, is their lineup that good, or is it that much of a hitter's ballpark? I
Well,
don't know.
Max Kepler, their shortstop is really good too, and I'm blanking on who he's. Oh my gosh, now I'm blanking on his one other shortstop's
Eduardo something.
name.
He's good. I'm blanking on him
Rosario.
myself.
Rosario.
I think it is. I think it is Rosario is their shortstop. Yeah. So, but they've got a really good lineup, and I mean, I haven't seen what Barrios has been doing for their pitching so far this year, but I have to believe their pitching is looking pretty good too. Where are they standing in the AL Central right
I believe they're in first place, but I could be wrong.
Oh,
It's either
yeah,
them or
they're-
Cleveland. Right
Yeah.
now, things will change as we put this up on YouTube. But again, AL Central is going to get 2 teams in this. What do you guys think about the expanded playoffs this year with 8 teams getting in? And anything can happen, especially say you're the Yankees and you're playing the Orioles in the first round. I don't know.
now? I hate it in the NBA. I hate it in the NHL, and I'm going to hate it in Major League Baseball. Like my whole feeling of this entire season is it's baseball, so I'm going to watch it and I'm going to love it. I'm going to enjoy it. But I'm not going to look at any World Series champion this year with any air of legitimacy. And that includes the Orioles. The Orioles could go all the way and win the World Series or whatever version of the World Series they're going to call it this year. And I'm not going to feel like it's a legitimately earned championship because it's not a true season or a true postseason at that point. And with 8 teams making it, it's just a round robin. It's like a version of the NCAA tournament in college basketball. But I will watch it. I will make that clear.
Of course.
I will watch it and I will enjoy it.
We're all going to watch it.
Yeah.
I'll agree with Ray on the last part about what a joke it is, but I'm going to vehemently disagree on the first part. I love it. Hey, we're rooting for a team here in the middle of a deep rebuild, and anything that gives us a chance to watch meaningful baseball longer, I want to be a part of. Now, with that being said, let's say some team in the rebuild like the Tigers or Marlins or Orioles win the World Series this year, and then next year in a full season they do exactly what they think we're going to do with like 75 wins. It is going to make it seem even more of a joke. But with that being said, I love it. I love it. I wish it was 25 teams. Anything that gets the Orioles in the playoffs, I'm fine with.
That'd be great. Well, I want to thank you guys for joining me here tonight on this, and we'll see you next week as we continue to talk baseball through this weird 2020 Major League Baseball season.